Well, hello and welcome to Small Town Big Business, a podcast about doing big business in small towns across the Midwest. I'm your host, Allison Hassler with Southern Illinois Vacation Rentals.
And I'm Russell Williams, the Director of Ethos, Small Business Incubator and Co-working Spaces right here in downtown Marion, Illinois, on Tower Square Plaza, and that's where we're at today. So thankful that you're joining us. We also want to thank our sponsors, Fowler Heating and Cooling, Arcadia Wealth Group, Black Diamond Harley Davidson and RV, the Watermark Auto Group Foundation, Swinford Media Group, and also our producers at Union Street Arts.
You can join our small town big business community by subscribing to anywhere you listen to podcasts as well as Facebook. So subscribing is free, and when you subscribe, you won't miss upcoming episodes that are released every 2 weeks.
If you'd like to know more about the Small Town Big Business Podcast or the Ethos Small Business Incubator and Co-working Spaces in Marion, Illinois, email me at russell@watermarkethos.org.
All right, and if you are new to this podcast, if this is your first time listening, welcome. And what we are here to talk about is we interview successful business owners and founders with their business, their successful business, and figure out what thrives in a small town. And today we have Theresa Adams Boyt, successor of Adams Shoe Store in downtown Marion. Welcome to the show, Theresa.
It's great to be here. I'm excited.
All right.
You're a podcast listener. We were talking about.
I am a podcast listener, yes.
Yeah.
I could sit here and ramble off the ones I listen to, but I highly doubt anybody would be interested.
You can go, give me three.
The Unfolding, which is one of my absolute favorite podcasts. And then Big Daddy Weave, Mike Weaver has a podcast that I enjoy. And then I like just other various ones, like not always political ones, but I like more religious type ones. So definitely those two for sure are the top two of my things I listen to.
I have never heard of either, and I'm going to listen to them.
Well,
Thank
the
you.
Unfolding is number one on my list of things. So.
And you listen to Small Town Big Business.
And I do, of course, yes. And I also pay for Spotify, so I'm going to listen to myself now on the car radio eventually.
That's awesome.
So,
you'll enjoy it.
yes, I'm excited.
Well, tell us about you, Theresa. How did Adams Shoe Store get started? And let's also interweave your personal, how you got involved as well.
So my grandpa and my uncle started it in 1926, and I really think that it was because it was the Depression, or it was getting ready to be the Depression.
Now, is this the longest owning single owning business that we've had?
Yeah, we're approaching 100 years here.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
My grandpa died when I was 7, so he died actually on March 1st, 32 years ago. So I didn't get to pick his brain a lot about things, but just over the years, just like watching and like looking at pictures, I've kind of made a puzzle in my head about what happened. But they opened it up, and then my grandpa went off to war, and my uncle kept it open. And then at one time there were 4 brothers, and they had individual businesses. So there was the shoe store, or at the time they did mostly repair. There was a barber shop, a restaurant, and a cab company. On the shoe store Facebook page, we have a picture of like the old, like where it was the cab company, and like the cabs on the outside. It says Adams on the outside. So each brother had their own business, and then the youngest brother wanted to do something else, so they sent him off to college. And my grandpa stayed with, and then I don't exactly understand the logistics of it, but my grandpa stayed. My uncle ended up dying young. They all died. They all die of heart attacks very young. So my grandpa stayed, and then my dad was working there, and he's obviously still there with me. And my grandma, and she passed away about 4 or 5 years ago now. And then it kind of just, I don't know, I went to college. But when I got out of college, there was no opportunities. I couldn't get any doors open. Like, I had a bachelor's degree. I was ready to go to work someplace, but like it did not matter. I could apply till I couldn't apply anymore, and like nothing was opening doors. And I finally just sat down one day and said, I think the Lord just wants me to stay here. I don't know what else to do, you know. And we had to move. Actually, that was like a big ordeal for us because we had been in the business we'd been in that same building for 90 years. And so many people will say, I remember when you were on the square. We were never on the square. We've always been in that one spot.
You've always been on the North Market location? I have always been on
North Market Street.
So it's like 2 blocks from our location here.
Yeah. I've always been on North Market. Like, we have pictures to prove it.
And was all the businesses located in
that? Yes, there were 4 buildings. There still are 4 buildings. Well, 2 buildings, 4 rooms are sitting there. But yeah, I lost my train of thought.
It's okay.
Anyway, so we ended up moving after 90 years. I am never doing that again. I'm never moving a 90-year-old business. But my best friend at the time, she owned the building that we are in, the buildings that we are in now. And I said, are you doing anything with your buildings? And she said, no. And I said, can I move into them? Because I was like, either we go out of business or, but we were so busy. I cannot take away from the heritage of that. Like, I'm 3rd generation, and I'm really kind of proud of that. And I wish my grandpa were alive. Like, he would be 112. But I wish he were alive because I think he would find it really fascinating as to what we've done. We've moved. So we've been down there for 5 years now. We bought the building. We've been there for 5 years. And I like what we've done. There's obviously always going to be things that I want to do. I watch too many of those things where they make over buildings, and I would love to do that. I just need more money to do that. Yeah. But yeah, I when I was a kid, I always wanted to be at the shoe store. There was never a time in my life when I didn't think this is where I want to be. Like, when I was 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, up and on, I was always like, I want to be at the shoe store. And my dad would always be like, oh, there's other things. He never would dissuade me, but he would say there's other things you could do. And I just always wanted to be there. And, it's a family dynamic. So it's my dad. And my mom's been a nurse for years, but she retired, so she's back with us now. But, it's always been me and my dad. And then whomever else comes to work for us becomes family. And so, unfortunately, 2 of our employees, they retired a couple of years ago, but they're still like our family. So, like, they come and visit. But I always just wanted to be down there. So whenever the opportunity arose to take it over, I was kind of all game. I was just like, all right, let's do this. Let's, but we're going to go in a different direction. So I've been big into branding our name right now. Yeah. Of course, my ideas and my dad's ideas are 2 different things. And he's always like, why are you making these crazy commercials? I said, you have so much time to get somebody's attention.
Yeah.
You have like 10 seconds maybe to grab somebody's attention. I said, nobody wants to see the same commercial since 1926. No one wants to see that. So I got people dancing around. I got people running out the door, throwing things. I don't know, I've got all sorts of stuff going on. But a lot of people will come in and say, I saw your commercial. And they remember it. And I want to be I want to be the store that they think of first when they come for footwear. Well, we came here first. I don't want to be like, we went to all these other places and then we came here, last. I want to be first in your mind. Sure. And that's where I'm at. Like, I don't really have like some sort of aha moment where I was like, this is what I'm going to do forever. But
but you didn't go to school.
I did go to school.
What was the time frame on that?
Yeah.
I went.
Try not to age yourself.
I am. Well, I'll be honest. I'll be 40 this year, so it does not seem like I should be that old yet. So I graduated in high school in 2000.
Yep.
And
born and raised here? Or elsewhere?
Yeah, I was born and raised in Marion, and I have to tell you, I did not graduate from Marion. I graduated from Johnston City.
Yeah.
It's a whole other backstory of things, but I ended up at a Christian school for quite some time. From about 6th grade to 9th grade, and that was just a really good plot of time for me to be in that situation, just raised with Christian values and in a Christian school setting, and I really enjoyed that. But unfortunately, that school kind of was going downhill with their curriculum, and my parents said, you really need to go back to public school because you're going to get the education you need to go to college. So I went back to school, and I did not want to go back to Marion. I didn't know anybody at that point. Everybody was, everybody was grown up, and I was 15 years old, and I was like, I don't know who these people are anymore, So luckily my grandparents lived in Johnson City. They're like, you can use our address and you can go to Johnson City. And it was a brand new high school. It was the first year they opened the high school. And I went to high school there. I love Johnston City. I will still always be a big fan of Johnston City. And I still love Marion, of course. I mean, I've been here my entire life. I never moved. I just drove to Johnston City. It's like 5 minutes. What's the big deal, you know? So I have been here my entire life. The farthest I ever lived away was 5 miles out of town, and that was too far. So, and I complained about it. You can ask my husband. I complained about that a lot. But either way.
But it wasn't too long after you graduated college. Your degree was in?
My first degree in computer information systems.
Okay.
So then I went back and I got a bachelor's in English.
Okay.
And so I like to write. And I thought I would be a teacher. Well, guess what? I'm not a teacher at all. The patience level is just not there.
And with that's the hard way too. It's okay.
With both. So that was like 2008. And then 2008, it took me a while to figure out where I was going with all this. In 2008, there was no jobs, and it was that whole big, real estate issue. We had a crash, and there was no jobs. And
housing market. There was,
and
a lot going on.
I just remember thinking, okay, fine, but this is where I'm going to be. This is where I'm going to be.
Yeah.
And
so, did your dad? Was he happy about you going into the business, or did he cry?
He didn't really. It was just like, okay,
are
fine.
You sure?
Are you sure? Like,
he want to make sure you're okay.
Like, are you sure? Like, this is what you want to do? Because people think that when you own a small business, you have like all this money and all this free time. Well, that's not the case. You live it. I mean, it doesn't just stay at work. It comes home with you. And there are multiple times I'll be home and my mom will call, and what are we talking about? And you don't have all this money that they talk about. I'm like, I don't know. Most people will say to me, or it used to be, people would say to me, well, what do you do with all your money? I'm like, well, where's it at first? I'm like, is it in a Swedish bank account someplace overseas? Like, I would like to access this money that you're talking about. You live it. You don't have, while you can come and go, there are pros and cons, obviously. You are that business. You are that face. And you have to be really careful about what you do and say, because, anybody can take anything wrong. And my big thing is, it's like, okay, whenever we're talking, I'll always say, don't talk about certain things because you don't want to hack somebody off. And then they can, nowadays with social media, anybody can say anything and just run off and say anything negative. And that's not the goal that we want. We want you to come out of there. I want you to be happy when you come out of there. But we are just interested in serving the community, basically. So,
what's it like to be a storefront in downtown Marion? Population 17,000 and growing. So, what is that like? Because we've had a lot of service-based businesses that we've interviewed lately, and we have a couple boutiques. So we had Lavish Box on here not that long ago. But what is it like with you and being that face? You have the consumers walking in, and
I never really thought about it, I guess, because I've always been there. My family's always been there. It's never been a you're the face or the it's always been just be polite, be respectable. The thing about it is people know my dad more than me. I mean, you say Vince Adams and everybody's like, I know him. He's been here forever too. He's never not lived in Marion too. And even now, I don't tell people I own it mostly because they don't believe me. I mean, they will go get my dad. They'll be like, oh no, I want to talk to your dad. Like, okay, but I guess something could change. I don't know, but they still want to talk to my dad, which is fine. I don't care. A lot of times, this sounds awful, but a lot of times men want to talk to men. I'm just not obviously going to do it for them as far as what they need. So, okay, you want to talk to a man? Great. There's two right there. So you can have your pick of my uncle or my father. But everybody knows my dad. I don't really think about being a storefront. I think about how business is going in the future. I really think that COVID changed how we buy things. And I was just actually, probably last I don't know, last season, I had talked to Katie Fowler about the fact that, how we buy things, how we look at things now are so different than we used to. People go live on Facebook to sell things. Before that, you did not see a lot of that unless it was like LuLaRoe, and that was a lady at home, with 4 kids. But nowadays, it's all about your storefront, but it's also about your online image, and that's kind of what me and Stephanie, my marketing manager, we've been working on as far as our imprint on the internet, and getting everything, kind of building a foundation to get things to where not only do you see us, you can come in, but you can see us online, and you have a amount of different ways to shop online. Although right now it's slow. I am not the best with some of the stuff I have to do. I don't enjoy always putting in inventory. That is just a really boring thing to do. Sure. It's like one after the other, and I have scanned so many UPC codes. It makes you sick. But
well, what is your favorite part about being a business owner?
I like the interaction with the people, and I also like the fact that you become friends with some of your customers. And I met my husband at the shoe store. Believe it or not, yes, I met him in there. So yeah, I mean that's everybody says you have a really great love story. It's because I met him at the shoe store.
There's another commercial for you.
Yeah, I guess so.
That's true.
That actually isn't a bad idea. Someone would need to play me. Yeah, I love the interactions with people. Most of the time, everybody's super friendly. You find out things about people. They will come in and just tell you their life story, and sometimes it's really interesting. And sometimes you can make connections through certain people. And I've made some friends, just being in business, or just when they come in, you know who they are, and I really like that. It's almost like, cheers, everybody knows your name. I really like that. A lot of times I'll be waiting on a customer, and someone will come in that I know, and it's just like, hey, how are you doing? What do you need? So I really like that about it.
And that's really the secret of your success.
Yeah.
I mean, when you
Absolutely.
think of shoe stores, they don't survive 100 years.
No.
And they're like bookstores, right? You can buy those online. So it's really hard to have a storefront. But it sounds like you guys have made the changes that you've needed to make generation to generation. But the consistency is being a good provider to customers and building that relationship.
Customer service is a huge, big deal. Like whenever I go to places, I expect somebody to help me if I need some help, and you don't get that. With us, it's like, if you need help, please let us know. And it's odd because now this generation that's coming up does not want help, and I don't know how to handle it. They'll come in like, I don't need help. I'm like, what do you mean you don't
No
need
interaction.
help? I need help. I need to help you. Like, I don't feel like I'm doing anything if I don't help you.
Yeah.
So that's a big part of it. You have to talk to people. You have to know how to talk to people, and you can't be scared. They're there because they want you to help them. They want to know what's going to be the best for what they're wearing. We look at a lot of what we sell as a tool, because we service a lot of people who are in factories or construction sites, or different places out and about, and you have to look at that like, okay, I'm giving them something that not only needs to be comfortable, but they can wear, and it's going to hold up, and it fits them correctly. Because a lot of people come in and they don't know what size shoe they wear, and you're like, okay, we're going to start from scratch. We're going to measure your foot, because we need to know. We're going to need a starting point to get you into the right thing.
Yeah. I know my husband appreciates that, because he walks on concrete all day, and he's got to have his special shoes, and he goes to Adams about once a year, and he buys the new shoes, and they're usually about the exact same things that he does. So so it's really interesting, because you have this legacy business, 3 generations, and you have went through a lot as a business, going through 3 different generations, almost 100 years. What were some of the challenges that you faced in your season of ownership? And we talked about that a little bit, about how you have kind of set some of the older mindsets and kind of pushing your way into newer maybe a different way of thinking about marketing. Can you elaborate on that a little bit of where you saw the most shifting that happened while you joined ownership with your father?
I put in a computer system. That was the big shift.
There wasn't one before? Oh, wow.
Before that, it was, okay, you own it, but I'm still doing what I want to do. Yep. Okay, well, then I thought, I'm going to spend some money. I'm going to put in a computer system because, we need to know what we've got on hand. And it's frustrating when you...
Was your dad like, I have it all right here?
Yes.
Yeah.
For years, you'd be like, someone would rattle off a number and you'd be like, oh, hold on. I know what that is right in your head.
Right.
And he got to the point where, now we carry over 40 brands and you cannot remember everything. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
So I said it's been about 5 years ago. I said, let's put in a computer system. And I searched and I asked questions and I finally found one. And then last April, I put in another one that has nothing to do with the old one. So we have phased out the old one. We've put this new one in and it utilizes your phone. And nobody is happy about that. I can be talking to a customer. I can pull my phone out and scan it. I can tell you what I've got in the store. I can tell you how much it is. And that has been, honestly, I know that sounds crazy, but that's been a big hurdle. Technology has been a huge hurdle for my family because it was never a big ordeal when my dad was younger. They always just wrote receipts out, which, that's great. But if you need proof of something, if you need to look back at something, you've got it right there, and it tells you even what time things happen or what time things were bought and sold. So I like that. That's been my big hurdle. And of course, my dad every day is like, I'm going to take a hammer to it. I'm like, no, you're not. And then I put in the biggest thing recently was the security cameras we put in the store. We had always had some type of camera in the store, but this time I enlisted another small business in the area to put in security cameras, and they're in real time. So when you come in, I can see you walk in, and I'm not running down there because it's lagging and a 5-minute stretch of time. But that was a big ordeal too. Why do we need new security cameras? What's wrong with this? I'm like, well, first of all, it constantly bleeps in and out, so just the technology aspect of it has been very difficult for people to kind of grasp. And the poor lady that works for me part-time, she's wonderful. But I think she would just rather wait on customers and say, here, you take care of the register. You take care of that computer, and I'll just stand over here. Because she'll stand up there. I told her she has performance anxiety. Because they get up there and they go to check out, and she looks at it and she's like, okay. And I'm like, it's okay. I'm right here behind you. I'm ready to help you. But that's been a huge ordeal. And of course, my uncle and my mom are probably the most open to it. But my dad, sometimes you just get set in your ways, and sometimes he just doesn't want to have to deal with it. He just wants to write it down. He doesn't have to think about what you have to click or what you have to scan.
Sure.
But it's easier, once you learn. Yeah. And another hurdle I've had is I'm a woman. And that's sometimes a problem because they don't always want to talk to me. Like I said, they want to talk to my dad, which is fine.
And let's be clear, your specialty shoes that you have are very male-dominated and driven.
Absolutely.
So we're not talking about a boutique store with a bunch of high heels in it.
Right.
It is, it's definitely for your contractor workers and, farmers and heavy-duty operators that are wanting specialized, really good quality shoes.
Right.
So with that preface, I am sure that you come across this a lot.
Oh, I do. Now, some men will come and say to me, you obviously know what you're talking about. These worked out really well. So that makes me feel good. Some people will say, I want to talk to her because she sold me them last time and they were really great. So that makes you feel better. Sometimes you sell stuff and it goes out the door and you don't see somebody for like 2 years. And in the back of your mind, you're like, oh my gosh, did you give them the right thing? It's always a question in your head. Because I see things, as far as shoes go, I see shoes and styles 9 months in advance to anybody else. So whatever I'm getting this fall, I've already seen it. So sometimes when whenever you see it in, let's say, January and you see it back in August again, sometimes you forget the logistics of whatever you're selling. So whenever you sell something that is new and that lasts them for a long time, you feel good about the fact that they bought it from me, or they, and it actually held up and it did what it was supposed to do. And it always feels good when someone compliments you, obviously. But I don't need a big head, so I tell them, no, don't tell me anything else. I need to be able to walk out here tonight.
Well, I bought some really, really high quality snow boots in your store, and they have lasted me over 5 years now.
That's amazing.
But it was because I believe it was your uncle that sat down and explained exactly how to take care of them each season, because obviously snow boots around here don't get used that often.
Right.
And he told me, it's going to dry out, rot if you put them here. If you leave them in the garage with no heating and air conditioning, then and how to take care of these to last them for a really long time. So it's his fault I haven't been back in. But that type of customer service is really evident.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. And we're trying to get more women in. Unfortunately, the women's work boot industry is just not there like it needs to be. They forget that we do work. They forget that we are out in the field. There's a lot of ladies that work for different construction companies or even on the road, and they forget that we exist. So often I'm always like, are you going to come out with a ladies version of that? Or are you going to come out with something that they can use, because they don't have it and they forget that we're even there. So I am trying my best to get more ladies stuff, but unfortunately, it's just not always there. You can buy cute boots all day long, but if you need a work boot, that's hard. It's harder sometimes.
Yeah. Let's ask some questions about being a business in a small town. So what has a small town like Marion provided for you?
We have local support, which I really like. We have people that come in from the city, and we have people that come in from all these different manufacturers. Because we are small, but our name is out there. A lot of people say to me that work in manufacturing, your name was first on the list of places they wanted us to go.
Oh, okay.
And that's really big, especially whenever you are a small business and they are a multi-million-dollar company is telling them, hey, go here. So I really do appreciate that. We do get the mayor has come in a couple years ago before COVID, which I call BC before COVID. We used to go to, we would get invited, me and my husband would get invited to the school board banquets, and it was usually like an auction. And the mayor, I did not know it until after, but he got our gift certificate through an auction. And that was a big deal for me, because I really do like our mayor. I really support him, and he supports us during COVID. He said, I called him on the phone and I said, what are we supposed to do? I said, we're not necessarily essential. He goes, I'm working on figuring out how you can be essential. Yeah. He's like, I've already thought about that. So he does keep us in mind, and he keeps all of us down here in mind. And I also, we get support out of the people who have been here forever. My dad has gone to high school with so many people that I've run into, and they come back in time after time. Even if they don't live here, they'll come back. Yeah. So it's it's that small town support that you get, even if you're not here. You're still coming back in because you are from here. Yeah. And I don't know. I like the fact that a lot of times when you're a small business owner and you are in the downtown area, you become friends and you tell stories with other, like Benny's. We've known John Hill forever. And, I was at Benny's on Saturday night, and it's like, he just comes up and you can just laugh and have a good time. And, it's that kind of support, that you if you need something, you have each other, and then as far as the community goes, there's so many different people around here nowadays, people coming in and out, it's nice whenever you get that long-term customer who's been here forever, and you've known their family and they know your family, and it's like a generational thing. My husband's family, they've been coming in our store forever. I don't know how I missed him this entire time, but my father-in-law said, I've been coming to your store with my grandpa. And that's been years ago. So I love the generational support that you get from this town.
That's cool. And talk a little bit more about that hometown pride, because it's something we've talked about a little bit earlier. Of people that have moved away, we all have friends that have moved away, but what would you say to people that are looking at Marion as a place to live and work and maybe start a business?
I love Marion. I have obviously never left. A lot of my friends have left. Actually, several of my friends have left for greener pastures, as they could say. I don't see it that way. They can say the grass is greener, but you don't know till you're over there. And I've convinced myself that it's just greener right here. Yeah. I think that this is a great area to live in. For the most part, you're ideally located. You've got St. Louis 2 hours away. You've got Nashville 3 hours away. You've got Paducah 45 minutes away. If you want to go someplace for a day, you can go someplace for a day and come back. Yeah. But there are so many things that are happening here now that did not happen when I was a kid. It's exciting to see the changes in what's going on. Like, for example, if you would have told me at 12 years old that Tracy Lawrence was going to come here, I would have been completely shocked. Like
and
Tracy
Martina
McBride. Martina McBride, exactly. And there's other bigger Christian bands that have been in this area. Like Big Daddy Weave is my favorite, and one of these days I will meet that man. I keep trying; it's just not happened yet. But they come here, and you get bigger names here, and you've got like the Hub, which is great, and you've got.
Which is our recreational center.
Absolutely, yes. I keep forgetting that. Not everybody knows that but me. And when I was a kid, Bob Butler, the mayor before, he had a shirt that said the Hub on it. And it had the tower square in the middle that said the Hub. And I still have that shirt. Yeah. And my mom said, "Are you going to get rid of that shirt?" I was like, "Never. I will never get rid of that shirt. I'm going to make it to like a quilt or something." Yeah. Because this is a small community, and it's not so big that it's overwhelming. You can get around fairly easy. We've got a lot going for us, but what I really like the fact is that a lot of things are going on down here, and I have not seen a lot going on here for a very long time. Right. For a long time we were the only business, one of the only businesses down here, and the only time that people were around is when we were busy, and so the other times there would be no one around. So I'm really excited to see like a lot of the independent restaurants, and I watched another one of your podcasts. Another bakery is coming into town, which is really exciting. Granny Puckett's. I'm really excited about that, and I don't think that anybody should be terrified to open up a business. It's going to be a matter of where you're going to put it at down here, because we're filling up fast. Yeah. So I don't know what they would have to offer. I'm going to say what we should need is more restaurants, small town restaurants. We need more mom and pop restaurants. I don't mind the big ones, but if you're going to support local and you're going to shop local, you might as well eat local. So that's how I feel. I like to eat local anywhere I go. I'm always on like Google or Yelp looking at small businesses as far as eating goes or shopping. But yeah, I wouldn't be scared to open up something, especially if you can get the support of your family and the community in on something. So I don't know what else to say besides that.
That's good. That's good.
Did you talk about what advice you would give your younger self as an entrepreneur?
Run. I don't know. Probably not to beat myself up so much. I'm constantly beating myself up over small things, and in the scheme of things, it's really not that important. Probably not second guessing myself.
Well said.
I wish that I could probably go back and say, "Hey, listen, you probably need to think about doing this and this and this to get you here faster." But that's just the way it is. You don't get to do that. When I was 15 or 16, the thought never occurred to me that, I would be a small business owner. Back then I was too interested in wanting to drive. I had a one-track mind driving. But nowadays, it's just a matter of making sure that, people are happy, that, we go home and we have a clear conscience and everybody's happy, and, you had a good day, basically. So I don't know what else to say to that, probably.
I think that sums it up really well. Yeah. Did you want to talk any more about the family dynamic in having a multi-generational family business?
Oh, well, I often say we should be on a reality show. Because
We can make that happen.
I know.
Yeah.
I said the other day, I said, do you remember whenever the first reality shows came out, it was like West Coast Choppers or something like that?
Yeah, right.
And I had said at the time, I said, so they yell and scream at each other all day. And I said, I think that we could throw boots.
That.
We could do that. We could throw things. We could throw boots at each other.
That's funny.
We could throw boxes. We could just knock boxes off the shelf.
Yeah. The secret to 96 years.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You know, my dad's side of the family, which is where this started at, they're Sicilian. So I'm always like, we could throw a spin in on the fact that we are a Sicilian family, you know, like the mob or the mob boss or the Godfather. I'm like, you could be the Godfather, you know. I'm like, something. My dad's like, that's no.
Yeah.
I love being with my family, and ideally that's probably one of the biggest reasons as to why I'm still there. I love being with my family. I love being with my mom and dad. There's never not been a day that I wake up and think, oh, I gotta see my parents again. And I love seeing my parents. I absolutely do. I think they're hysterical. I could probably have a comedy show about some of the stuff that those two do because it's hilarious. But I used to pit them against each other when I was bored. You know, I would be like, Mom said that you didn't get this done, and what is she talking about? You know, and then they would have a little bit of an argument, and that would keep me entertained for an hour during the day. And I'm an only child, so there's nobody else that can say anything against that.
Goodness.
But you know what's really great is my uncle has started to work with us, and he's been here for 2 years, and that is something that 5 years ago, if you would have told me, I would have been like, you are out of your mind.
Oh, yeah. Is he like Uncle Si from Duck Dynasty or something?
Yeah, actually, he's got the beard. Well, he did have the beard. He kind of shaved it off recently, but he did have the beard. I told him at one point to braid it, and he disagreed with me. But yeah, he has been gone from here since off and on since I was 4.
Yeah.
He's been gone. And I never got to know him as much as a kid, but as an adult, like, to get to know him has been tremendous.
Wow.
And that's my mom's brother.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that he's around. He's 15 years older than me, so it's not such a stretch. So he is more on my side about, like, some of the stuff that I want to do, like the technology stuff. He's really into. He likes that. But, you know, at the same time, it's like having a brother, you know, because I never had one. I don't know what that would be like, but if it would be like this, that would be just fine. But, you know, I love having him around, and I hope he never wants to leave.
Wow.
You know, he's just a really good addition to this wacky thing that we got going on. But it's just my husband bought the building beside us, so his engineering firm is right beside us now.
I wondered who that was.
I have got I'm going to plug my husband, Boyt Engineering.
Okay.
MEP, mechanical, electrical, plumbing. Yes. So he designs all that. And he's bought the building right beside us. And for 2 years, I have been constantly on him, like, please buy the building beside us. Think about how great this will be. And it's been pretty awesome because when my kids get bored, they go to see him.
Yeah.
You know, when they get tired of being with me, they go over, like, 2 steps out the door. They go see Dad, and, you know, they're right there. And so, like, we have this whole block here of just, like, this family. And so when my in-laws come, you know, to see us, they come to one of the other buildings or whatever. And I love it. It's kind of like, you know, what I had always, you know, wanted or anticipated, that we would all be in one area, and, you know, if we need something, we've got each other. And I like that.
What do you think that you're teaching your children now that you grew up at Adams Shoes, and now you get to see your children growing up in Adams Shoes, and now by your husband's engineering firm? What do you think that you're teaching them as they grow up with this, a really big core piece of their childhood?
I hope that I'm teaching them that family is everything. It's a dynamic, and I'm hoping that I'm also teaching them that, you know, if this is what they want to do, it's hard work, that it's not going to be an easy ride, that no one's going to give you anything. You have to work for it. We're trying to instill in my son right now, you know, if you want something, you have to work for it. He wanted to give money to St. Jude, and he said, you need to give me some money for St. Jude. And I said, okay. And my husband heard, and he goes, no. I think that you're going to need to do something to work for it. He said, and that's going to mean more to you when you give money to something because you've worked for it. So he had some stuff he had to do to give money to St. Jude. So I just want them to know that, you know, just don't get there because it's a handout. You have to work for it. And I want them to know that if this is what they want to do, that's great. I'll support them. That it's just not, there's always going to be things about being in business that are not always easy.
Yeah.
And I want them to see that we have each other, even though if we get frustrated or we get mad at each other, we still come back at the end of the day, and we're still a family, and we're still close, and we still forgive each other, and we get back up and do it the next day. I still want them to see that, because me and my husband, even when we were dating, it was always about family. So we always wanted to have a family dynamic. I'm trying right now to get my parents to go on vacation with us, which is not going to happen. But we want them to see that your family is what you've got, and that if they need help or they need something, you've got them.
Yeah.
So that's my goal.
Yeah. Well, Theresa, this has been a pleasure.
Hey, this has
really
been fun. Bring me back anytime. I'll ask some questions.
Not a nightmare.
No, I had an awful nightmare.
You said coming in, you thought it might be.
I had an awful nightmare last night about this.
You did?
I did. It was
No.
awful. I was dreaming that for whatever reason, my mom kept coming in here, and then other family members and I was like, what? And they were trying to talk and over me, and I was just like,
does that happen?
yeah, a lot, actually. I just remember in my dream, I'm like, oh my gosh. And then you guys had these huge headphones on me, and I was trying to talk, and it was like all inclusive.
We were going to do that, but no.
Yeah.
Do you think mom, dad, or uncle will be listening to the podcast?
Oh, absolutely. My uncle said to me, well, if it's live, and I'm like, I don't think it's live, but whenever it does go out, absolutely, we will shoot it your way.
That's great.
I know I think he wanted to be over here with me today.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I don't see why not. Maybe we can do it again. I don't know.
Well, we're going to have to work on that reality TV show.
Yes, absolutely.
We could call it The Addams Family.
Well, yeah, and then we could snap.
Or the Shoe Dynasty, like Duck Dynasty, Shoe Dynasty. See, I'm working on it already.
I like that.
You can write. You're the English major, so you can write.
I could write it.
You could write
yes.
for this
yes,
show.
I've written several commercials just out of necessity. So yes,
that's a great gift.
Totally write that.
That's a great gift. But
that's awesome.
Theresa Adams Boyt from Adams Shoe Store.
Third generation.
Yes.
Legacy business.
I want to be around in 4 years when we celebrate 100 years of Adams Shoe Store.
And I have been trying to figure out what to do for that.
Oh,
Ooh.
That'd be awesome.
I don't know what to do. Maybe
we'll help.
Yeah, that would be great. I'm serious. I don't know what I would do for that. I was thinking about that the other day. I had talked to Nicole over at Wit and Wisdom, and we were talking about, we need food trucks and all this stuff out there, to do things.
Yeah.
I want to implement, and I know this is like just an idea I hatched not too long ago, but I would love to implement like a food truck Friday down here. And we have all that parking back there. We could put all those food trucks back there.
Yeah.
And
I think it's great.
have a big time.
There's been a lot of talk.
Yeah, I would love
food
that.
truck.
Oh yeah.
That'd be great.
Anytime any of those food trucks come around me, I'll smell them out. So.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
We've got some amazing ones.
Theresa, thank you so much.
Hey, thank you for asking me to come. I appreciate it. It's been fun.
This has been really great.
Yeah.
We also want to thank all of our listeners and watchers for tuning in for Small Town Big Business. This episode was very, very good. I appreciate it very much. And of course, thank our sponsors for making Small Town Big Business possible. That includes Fowler Heating and Cooling, the Arcadia Wealth Group, Black Diamond Harley Davidson and RV, the Watermark Auto Group Foundation, Swinford Media Group, and of course Union Street Arts. I want to thank Luke O'Neill, who's our podcast manager. And if you're interested in creating some content like a podcast for recording either by listeners or for watchers, just contact Luke O'Neill at Union Street Arts.
And Theresa, what is the best way for people to find Adams Shoe Store?
We are 5 blocks off of Route 13. So you just you can turn right from Route 13 from, 13, or if you're coming on from 37, turn right. And we're on North Market and keep going straight, and there we are on your right-hand side. Or if you come up through the square, you can come around. And I don't know how to explain this very well, but you come around and you come down through the good old building, and keep going straight, and we're on your left.
And North Market.
On North Market Street. And we're your next step to quality footwear. That's what we tell everybody.
There we go.
That's great. And do you have social media?
We do. We have a Facebook page. It's just Adams Shoes or Adams Shoe Store. I can't remember which. We've had to change it 14 times. And then we have Shop Adams Shoes, which is my website that we're working on. It's currently, you can see a lot of it. you can't shop from it yet, Morgan, on that. But you can get on there and watch our commercials and get on our Facebook page and stuff like that too. So you can look around on there as well.
Please subscribe and catch our new Small Town Big Business episodes that are released every 2 weeks.
You can see us on Facebook also at Ethos at the Citadel on Tower Square Plaza, or you can email me to find out more information, Russell at watermarkethos.org. I'm Russell Williams.
And I'm Allison Hassler. Thank you for listening.